I think boredom is an epidemic itself. Boredom a lot of the time creates winning. It's just not fun. Instant gratification and boredom don't go together.
Especially when you can pull your phone out and not be bored. Exactly.
You can get instant access to anything in the world essentially, so why would I want to go work for something that I can just look at right now? Or I can look and judge someone else. They have this, they did this to get that. Well, they might sell you a program for 6 months and guarantee you a result that took them 6 years.
I'd rather be sidelined trying to achieve greatness than watch greatness achieved and it only set on the sideline. Now introducing your host, Jacob Emery.
This episode of the Iron and Infrastructure Podcast is brought to you by R&R Pipeline Inc., an infrastructure company. Join our team today at rrpipelineinc.com. What's up, everybody? Today I have a couple special guests on today's episode, Jeffrey Lowery, Kody Rostofer. Both young men are in my coaching program, absolutely killing it this year. They're both entrepreneurs. So we talk about a lot of really cool topics, but specifically we talk about why people avoid the hard thing. So if you're avoiding something and it's controlling you, this episode's for you. Also, we talk about how to recognize in the moment that you're ready to take that leap of faith to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people have a 9-to-5, but have that desire to be in the entrepreneur world, but they don't know when to take that leap. This episode dials that in. And then also, as an entrepreneur, knowing that you're a misfit, having a mindset that doesn't fit in with the normal is a superpower. It's not something to look down on. It is an absolute superpower. We discuss AI and what the world looks like in the world of AI, and why community beats anything else as far as the ability to help grow. So check out the episode. If you like what you hear, reach out. And Jeffrey, Kody, proud of you guys. Absolutely killing it. Let's go to the episode. So what's up? How you guys doing today, man? Apologize for the inconvenience of sitting here talking, hanging out in a nice place. I'm sure it was really bothering you, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's tough sitting here solving all the world's problems.
Yeah. Well, if you solve them, let me know. You can start coaching me. I'm looking at doing a group. I think it's called Vistage. I think that's what it's called. It's a CEO executive coaching program that's local. So I've been talking about like getting in local network and whatnot. And I haven't found a home with it yet, but I had a lot of LinkedIn. Vistage is what it's called. There's been a ton of like interaction on LinkedIn recently, and not a large volume of people, but a really high like level quantity of value. So that's been interesting. But they reached out. I had like a meet and greet call the other day with them, and they do CEO executive level coaching community is what it is. Anywhere in this one particular one that they had like 6 different groups. And the one was like maybe the highest level of revenue is 5 million, but the next one was like 7 to 10 to 700. And that's one they offered me to go into. And there's like energy executives running like in charge of 700 million and 500 million, like insane. So it's going to be hard for me not to do it, I would say, especially being local. And then they have the energy connection, which I don't have a lot of that now. So be pretty cool. Find out. Per usual, fuck around and find out.
When it comes to you gaining traction like that on LinkedIn, like you said, it like your Vistage was high quality, it seemed like, rather than quantity in a way. Do you pay for like promotions on posts or stuff like that, or you just actively, have communication going on with other people and whatnot?
I have not paid for it yet. So Joan did for a little bit where she was doing a sales lead thing. And then I had like the premium subscription. I had different things on there, but I haven't right now.
Right.
I think it's content and putting it out at volume over time. So consistently pushing out content, I think is probably the biggest thing.
Okay.
And maybe paying attention to it because I didn't pay attention to it for so long. And I had a lot of messages I didn't even see.
Yeah.
So then I had Joan kind of dedicated to it for a while just so it would get done. And then now it's me doing a lot of it because I'm more like directly aware of it. Where before I didn't even fucking realize it, which was me just being incompetent, I guess.
All right.
But
Definitely could be some opportunities that way.
Content. You're going to hate doing it. Like I hate doing content. This is fun right here. Once all that's done, because I've had a lot of good podcasts that were ruined because of that part. So that stresses me out more. This is just fun. One day in the near future, I won't do that. I'll have someone else do it and then I'll just show up. But until that point, it's kind of what it is. And that video switcher is a game changer for me to have simplicity, which I didn't have that before. But just being able to talk about what you do every day and then showing the world what you do. It's so valuable. It's insane. And people don't want to see the manufactured, like, glorious sunshine, and they want to see the nitty gritty detailed shit. And I missed a lot of that at the beginning. I didn't tell people who I was first from the history of it. I said, who I was today, not what made me this way today, I guess. Document your journey. I can just say that. Even looking back now, I have a lot of pictures I found the other day. I was blown away, some of them. Like winch cable snapped off dozers. I mean, shit that you guys would look at and be like, fuck, yeah. The first ever Traco that I got my first opportunity to really go be an operator, 2000, probably 10, 9. I'm in Woodsfield, Ohio, in the middle of the woods. There's like a 25-foot right of way, which is, it's this wide in the room. You got an 8-foot wide Traco with a 2-inch gas line that's on top of the ground. If you sneeze too hard, it's going to snap in half. It's old screw pipe from 1890 to 1920. And that's what we were replacing. And you go to backfill. There were so many times it snapped. You got 40 pounds of gas blown like out of that thing. Like, wow. Wild. But I was in this small Traco, and it would be small for you. Yeah. And my left leg was the size, like my left side was like your size. I was so crammed in this fucking thing. Dead of winter, dude. I could barely put clothes on because I was like so small. And anyways, and I had like a lunchbox strapped to the outside of it. It's comical to think. It's like a 35 size with a cab on it, which made it even worse. But I've looked at pictures from that past like 15, 20 years. I have a much deeper appreciation for it, but that's what's gotten a lot of engagement. I put one picture of me like at a campfire with my little fat rolls all pushed together with a marshmallow, like sticking a marshmallow, and made a post about that fat boy growing up, whatever. And that got more attention than anything else did. Like it's wild that people just want you to be relatable.
That makes sense.
Which I know that it's just, like thinking about how to get that out there and produce or whatever. But yeah, the motocross, like I raced motocross for 10 years. Probably my favorite sport. If I had to pick one, that would probably be it. NHRA races, I rebuilt Jeeps and cars, and like I did all the shit that I'm going back and looking at now. It's like I need to share this because that's stuff that people haven't seen, and I think that's where the content like next level is going to go. So I would definitely say share your journey because people want to see what it's authentically like. I'll pull some of these pictures up real quick. I hope you don't mind. I know this is your guys' podcast, so if I'm out of line, just let me know.
I know that like documenting the journey is one thing that like I guess I don't struggle to do it, but it's things that like when tasks are complete or, just accomplishing something or getting, going and doing something, whether it be for fun, and then you leave that scenario and you didn't document or take any photos of it. And it's like it becomes regretful pretty quick. Yeah. So I know I've been to trade shows and stuff like from my previous job, and I'm like, man, I spent so much time like paying attention. I didn't, I'm never going to remember what it was like. So, yeah. Every time I go back to those settings, I always try to be sure to, get more documented, photos out of that stuff.
So they have like a new AI thing that you basically put on your chest and it transcribes everything for you. It has a little camera. I think we talked about it on the call. I'm probably not going to get one now, but the convenience of recording is the pain in the ass, probably for you. Setting up with camera. And then for me, it's like audio and video, making sure it's the right angle, and then trying to fit inside of that system that I've created. Like, fuck's sake. But that thing, it's just there, it's on. Even like now on my computer, I have it set up where Plot will come on, Plot AI that I use for meetings. It'll actually come on there and record meetings automatically once I don't know if it's like trigger words that I had set up, I forget, but basically it's an automated thing. Hey, here's a group of people talking, it starts recording. So I don't have to think about it now where all I had to do is push a button, but if I forget, it has a backup now. So that alone is really convenient. Here's some of these old pictures. So this was
getting big air.
1970 Chevelle 454. That's what I grew up in, going to car shows. Dude, that was my childhood memory, was sitting in the back of that car. That's why I have such a passion for 66 to 72 Camaros, Chevelles. Really a 70 Chevelle, 69 Camaro. Like them two cars are a staple for me. But that one car, though, I love that thing. 55 mile an hour is a 4-speed automatic because it had too much ass to shift it all the time. Like it wasn't feasible. But you'd be going 55 mile an hour, 2,000 to 2,300 RPM, and you would punch that thing, and it would damn near take the front tires off the ground, but it would do a burnout. It would spin the tires right now. Right. So it was pushing, I think, 750 horse. It was bored out to 5.1, and it had dual carburetors, obviously the blower. I don't remember if it had a supercharger on or not, but it was set up pretty sweet. So that's like my first growing up memory. And this was my grandpa. He had this tea bucket it was a 27-ish 1927, I think. Something like that. But he had that, and it got burned in a fire. If there's another picture of it or not. It caught on fire, and he repainted it like a green color, and then had pink spark plug wires on that thing, and they like popped out with that green. So like that kind of stuff, obviously I've never shared that with you guys, but it's all good stuff to be able to share, with the world at some point. And these are just random pictures and stuff that I put together. So that was my very first interview that I did with my grandpa. Sitting right here. So like this is the kind of stuff that I haven't shared a lot, but I'm going to. That's just me as a kid. I recreated this picture with my daughter. She has Max Effort shirt on with a pair of my shoes. I recreated it. So this was 2013 probably. So that was the original Busy Diet Corey I created with Muscle Farm. And I went on it, and that's when I committed to doing that show. And that was the first time I actually executed on something I said I was going to do. And that was 13 years ago. So it's 24.
When you look back, whether it be that point in the diet, with the diet or something else, what jumps out at you as moments where you said, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm unemployable. I need to do my own thing.
Now looking back, I can understand why I was a misfit. My whole life I was a misfit. Probably that being the main cause. There's distinct moments though. I was in Loudonville, Ohio, Dominion Energy, 12-inch plastic high pressure pipeline project that we were doing. The vice president was running the job because it had like 60 people there. The whole company was down there. It was a massive project, 7 days a week, as many hours as you could work. We were doing this project. We were doing mainline install. So installing 12-inch pipe, and then you have tie-ins where you hook into the pipe that's already existing, put gas in the new pipe. And we had like a tie-in crew that would go around to prep and get all the welders ready and stuff. And then after the new pipeline was in place and ready to go, we would abandon the old. So de-energizing the old. I remember standing there talking to the VP one day and telling him, you really need to have people doing X, Y, and Z. I think it would help you a ton. And I laid out like this scenario for him. Mind you, I'm $12, $13 an hour. Like I'm a peon at best. I'm very, very low totem pole. I can barely weld pipe at this point. And I remember telling him something I thought would work, how to organize the job and the people. And he looked at me like I was fucking delusional, and a week later did it and never said anything to me, but he did exactly what I laid out. I actually drew a picture of it. Like I laid it out and like showed him why. And he did it eventually. I found that paper in his truck one day it was the old man. So I got in his truck one day and that paper was like still folded up in his center console. So he took that paper and did what I had said. And I really, like, I am nobody. I don't know shit about fuck, but it was like, that actually worked really well. To me, I was like, everybody knows this. So like, it was an obvious thing. That was one of them times it was like, why would we not do it? Like, this makes too much sense. Naturally, it seems so obvious, but it wasn't. Right. To everyone else. And so that's probably one of the moments, not being good in school. Looking back, the obvious one, like I couldn't, ADHD, obviously, you guys have seen that probably. I'm much more system driven now than I ever was, but majority of my life has been chaos without clarity and 100% gas pedal. But looking back at school, I didn't fit in because I wasn't able to be inside that box. I've been unemployable my whole life because the box that like society would put me in, I could not stay inside of. That's why I was getting in trouble and drinking, and I was looking for a reason to have meaning or purpose. Like that's probably what it was. But I never fit in anything of a box. I just didn't know why then. Now I do. But look, how to learn, or like in school, they don't teach you how to learn. They give you what you need to learn to get through school. They don't teach you how to actually learn though. There's no methodology on how to actually download the information and retain it where you can use it. You fail a test, you don't stop and redo that and learn it. You keep going to the next one until you can't get caught up. A lot of people never do. So some of that stuff for sure was obvious. And then when I first got the opportunity to be a foreman, there was a manager that was training me on how to do it. And basically he was doing it. I was there, and then he was going to just hand it off to me. It was what it actually equated to. Within the first like 5 or 6 days, I said, I got it, dude. Because I seen what he was doing, and I was like, this is asinine. Like, I would not do this. And I was arguing with him about it. I was like, man, I got it. I'm good. And then I did it my way, and then the job went really well. And that accelerated my career a lot when I was able to manage people and put them in the right seats. But I think that's why I'm so passionate now about the coaching group and just about creating a community that has went through all that has got out of it, and maybe doesn't recognize why they went through all that shit yet, or hasn't had the appreciation or the awareness moment that defined them from a good side. But that 16-year-old version of me, dead in jail by 21, that should have been my ceiling. Had I not just figured out a way to do it differently, then that probably would have been it. But what about you guys, though? Because have you ever felt unemployable? Or has it just been a natural progression for you, Jeffrey, to start this thing because of the love for it, growing up with it, being around it?
Yeah, I'd say for me, it was kind of, in a way, following passion, but more than that, trying not to be bored. When I look back, and I can relate with not being a great student, but for me, I think a lot of it was stuff that I was bored with. And I remember my first real job out of high school was as an engineer intern, and I felt like it was easy. I felt like my decisions didn't matter. I felt like there was nothing I could do to actually fail. I felt like the best thing I could do to succeed would be like the same football team as my boss and sit there and talk to him about football, which I didn't like. I grew up racing motorcycles where making decisions on the bike setup made a big difference. Trying to decide where you were going to allocate your limited resources of time and money made direct impacts on how well the race went. So ultimately, I wanted a faster feedback loop. I wanted to feel like I was held accountable for my decisions, and I wanted to feel like I was able to determine my own destiny. And I don't have anything against the job description of an engineer, just as an in general statement. If I was going to be, if I was gonna have a job, it would be in the engineering field. But I just don't want to live in that box.
Yeah, and I think the creativity of being an engineer was probably the passion, not the box of what stagnant engineering firms have. Like, and you could probably relate to that, but
Absolutely.
there's a lot of really creative and smart engineers that go get a career path to die with their passion dies because of it. What about you, Kody? Was there anything for you, like, it's been more recent for you? So what's
Yeah, I would say, probably I could tie it directly to like my passion for engineering is like very high. I'm not very passionate about working for a bureaucratic type of company, and when you take on engineering roles and try to climb the corporate ladders, you're often going to struggle to find a job that's not, operating as that, at least at that level, as a bureaucratic system. So, that's one thing that kind of really, makes me want to, be a successful business owner on my own or feel like I'm unemployable in a way. The biggest, tie into that would be like, I really like the feeling of like no adults in the room. So like, I love engineering. And, even Jeffrey knows, like, I need direction at times, or I guess not really direction. I would say reassurance, maybe a little direction as well, but definitely reassurance. But still, like, I would rather take as much time and fail as many times as I have to, even if I stayed up all night, just failing and failing, than having someone breathe down my throat and feeling that tension of like, we have to get it right the first time, So, I really like just the idea of engineering in general, but working that out with a corporate company is just difficult.
it's different because you're not incentivized or rewarded strictly for your output and your quality of work, right?
Right.
There's a lot of political narrative and a lot of
and
things that shouldn't matter that do.
Yeah, and oftentimes the result seems, the reward to the result often goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that can be frustrating at times. I have to also relate it to genetics in a way, I would say, or just my upbringing. My father, he owned a construction and excavating business, a smaller one, my whole childhood. Yeah. So as far as like watching my dad, like he was very busy, like way busier than he is now.
Right.
When I was a kid, and like it seemed, but he always had that sense of freedom, like he's down at the welding shop, doing something, and like he was never bored, and he was always busy, and like, but he was doing it for himself, and it seemed like he really enjoyed life, and I think that maybe just growing up around that, and then, you go to work and you struggle to sit there all day and, know that there's a life out there for you, and then you've seen other people live it. So I think that definitely has a relation to it as well.
I think the biggest misunderstood thing about entrepreneurship in itself, it's not the pursuit of happiness to me. That's what I thought it was I'm in this pursuit to achieve something to become happy. It's the happiness in that pursuit, finding the joy in every day that you go through it, and whatever happens is irrelevant to your outcome, like with your mental capacity. Today's a good day, regardless of what happened. this will be something I get through. But I also think there's people that work their whole life away for this thing and they don't pay attention enough. So like unconsciously they know, but they get to the finish line and realize that there is no finish line and they don't get a trophy. They get nothing because they don't do the things that are required to have a successful established business. You got to pay attention to financials. You can't just not look at them and pretend they're not there and then actually be surprised whenever they're not right. You can't not learn about the financial structure of your business. How do you make money and understanding in depth how money comes in, how money goes out. There's a lot of old timers now, air quotes, that if they had cash, they had money. They were doing good. That's not going to last anymore. And you're seeing that tide kind of turn now where if 55 to 70-year-old solopreneur in any type of business or even in a partnership, been in business 20 to 30 years, hasn't scaled any more than 20% in 1 year in the last 10 years, they're probably in trouble right now. I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah, for sure. And when I started, I was surprised of how easy it was to move money and how difficult it was to make money.
Yeah.
Like putting big revenue numbers on the board really isn't that hard.
No.
Ending the year with money in the bank account is a different story.
And just because you're generating revenue doesn't mean you're making any money.
Right.
You know, millions of dollars a month. Okay, great. What's the bottom line? Look, what are you taking with you? And then how much of that do you actually keep? And that profit doesn't mean that's what you keep. You know, you do a 10% net profit, you're probably reinvesting 7 or 8 of that back into the business. You're not just taking it, put it in your pocket unless you're good with where you're at, like number wise, but you still have assets and CapEx to spend. And then if you have one down year, you can't invest into the business to grow. So then it compiles and dude, it's tough. Business is hard. Like you guys know, the brutal reality of business is that it's excruciatingly hard. And it always has been, it always will be. And it's getting harder now, I think, than ever before, because that discrepancy between a non-tech driven company, no tech, no automation, paper and pen, them companies will not exist in a year or two. If they still exist today, I don't know. But over any 7-figure in revenue, I would say business that is driven on pen and paper is going to be extinct relatively fast. That's not even, I don't even think that's like a prediction. I think that's a factual statement, to be fair, because it's not going to be feasible to keep up with anything else when what we can do today is in seconds compared to days before. If you don't get on if you're not with it, you're against it. And if you're against it, you're going to get ran over by it. And so the ability to adapt and overcome like change is at an all-time high. I also think that's going to set up, like you, Kody, you're going to have a grand opportunity to go help a lot of these businesses that are going to die without you. Adapt or die, and some will die, but you can help a lot of them adapt to it. I think that's where you're going to find your sweet spot in years to come, is the transition of what kind of was with compliance to what is going to be a staple and non-negotiable now. And then with you, Jeffrey, like the ability whenever you get your robot set up and some of the stuff that you're doing with the AI, like getting that established is going to create production rates that you've never seen before. And you wouldn't be able to do that 5 years ago. It didn't exist, essentially. I think we're in a massive transition in the world. I don't think 99% of the world realizes it.
Yeah. And I think that some of the people who do realize it have kind of a doomsday outlook on it. You know, it wasn't but 125 years ago that 90% of the workforce was in the agricultural industry. And then we got tractors. And I think it's a good thing that we embraced tractors and we did put our efforts elsewhere. And I think that there will be a similar transition here as we embrace and as we move into an economy where intelligence is not the limiting factor with regards to having access to the artificial intelligence. I think a lot's going to change, and I think it's very true in our industry, but in America in general, but in our industry where people are so resistant to change, and we feel absolutely no limit to demand for our industry. Like certainly there's more profitable work and less profitable work, but I have no doubt that we will have work. And as true of a statement as that is today, I think it's going to be even more true in 20 years.
I can't even put a pulse on 5 years from now with what I do know. Trying to look 20 years to me is like insane right now.
What do you think, whether it be 5 years or in 20 years, what do you think will be true about the economy as AI comes to play? Where do you stand on that?
I think at some point there's going to be such a squeeze on doing the work and actual people being employed. I don't
I don't think it'll be so much a universal income by what we see today, like a communism stance. But at some point, there's going to be so much money generated without people. How do we have employment rates that are sustainable for providing an income for your home if it's not provided for you? So I've studied Elon Musk a bunch, and Steve Jobs, obviously not relevant now, but he predicted this in the late 80s, early 90s. He had some bold statements about what we're experiencing today, whether it be the Matrix prediction, like it's all coming true, essentially. The people that are very in tune with it are disconnected from existing, like as a human. Like Sam Altman, you watch him talk, and you can tell there's a level of fear that he has, and just the way he approaches his speaking. Elon Musk talks about no one being employed in 5 years, not having cell phones in 5 years. Like, does he know this to be true? His timeline is probably insanely too fast. He's probably half the timeline ahead of what will actually happen. He's probably right in some regard of what does transpire in the future. If someone's going to have a pulse on that, it's going to be him. He's not going to say it as a scare tactic, or he has no motive behind saying it without it probably being real. I think, like for my industry in particular, I think we have such a demand on output and such a handcuff on the ability to train and develop people. So just specific to my niche, look at, there has to be a massive transition to how we learn. And society has to come to grips with the demand is not going away. AI centers, data centers are going up everywhere. So data center or chip manufacturers, which like Intel here, there's no stopping that. There's no robots going to do it anytime soon. Even if they could expedite it a little bit, it's not going to happen. Like the development itself, manual labor is not going away. The design, maybe eventually, but we're talking years, I think still. I do wonder though, economically, what happens, and I don't think anybody knows. And I think what a fucking privilege it is to be alive at this time. That's the ultimate thing for me. I have no idea. To put a true prediction on something would just be nothing but that. Just a wild ass guess. But what a time to be alive. This, back to your statement about 125 years ago, there has never been a technology advancement quite like this one. The spend is there. We're probably going to have a recession of massive, massive magnitude within 5 years, I would say, because the model doesn't make sense from an economic standpoint. Billions of dollars invested into these data centers. And then does it push society forward that much that it improves our economy? I don't know. It never has in history. The railroad led to the Great Depression. We've had a significant, the fiber optic push in, I think it was the early 2000s, ended up leading to the recession of '08. So not directly, they were tied together to some extent, but we get over our skis and borrowing money and putting money out. Economically, it doesn't make sense. I would say we're probably heading down that wave again to some extent, but I could be completely wrong too, because this is the first technology that gets better without human interaction. It can build itself better, and it can create revenue without humans. You can generate revenue without having a team of humans having to do all of it. We've never had that before. So it's a really interesting transition. And that's what, like, thinking, I'm somewhat a long-term planner from a vision standpoint, what I think could be true with like my own business entities, but I've also scaled back a lot on that longer term vision, trying to think any structure or strategy going toward 10 years is more like, let's dial in 3 years and then get really fucking good on 1 year, because I don't know what's going to be here in 3 years, but let alone 10. It's like, how do you put a plan together for 10 years? I don't know what's going to be here 1 year ago from then to now. I'm doing shit I didn't know existed a year ago. So, and every month or two, it seems like that's the new release on the new AI tool of your choice, whatever it is. Like, it can do this now. Right. What's next? No idea. What do you guys think?
Sure. I agree with a huge percentage of what you just said, and politically, I think it'll be interesting whether we do come to trying to do some kind of UBI or what that might be. But as the income gap grows, I think that people will be motivated to try to do something, right, wrong, or indifferent. And I think today we already have a bit of like a crisis of meaning, where people struggle to find meaning in life, especially as a huge percentage of society has stopped going to church and has taken a secular approach to life. So I guess my question for both of you, moving into the world of AI, what is your deeper level of why? Like, what I'm kind of addicted to running right now. I like to run marathons, and a lot of my friends and family look at me like I'm goofy and ask why. So as guys who are motivated to grow a business and trying to move forward into tomorrow with strategy, knowing that AI is here and is coming, what is your why to keep digging, to keep pushing and such? So I don't know. I'll ask Kody that first.
Yeah. So I guess when it comes to, my why to keep pushing and keep digging with AI, AI, especially in the quality management system world, can definitely change the game. Like I've already used AI to my advantage, when it comes to operating a business, where I created a gap assessment model where, a user could plug in their documentation or their current quality management system, and get outputs from that. So I think, in the quality management system consulting side of that engineering realm, AI is definitely a motivator for that. It does make things a little easier, and in the sense that like you still have to be there to make the judgment, as a human operator on the other end of it. All the outputs have to be, critiqued by the human person, especially when it comes to quality management systems, because you often get false outcomes from AI. But, it's definitely a huge motivator within my business, I would say, and would be something I continue to use and grow with, in the consulting world. So definitely.
Individual success, team significance, legacy of excellence. That is the why for me. And happiness in the pursuit, I think, is the other way to look at that. But AI is accelerating progress, and it's accelerating the ability to design a life that matters, to help others do the same. So ditch to design is how I've kind of framed my life in existence. Started on the ditch line with no direction at all, then just pieced it together. I look back now like, I don't know how I did that. I have no idea how I got here today. There's a lot of dots to connect looking back that makes sense when you write it down and analyze it from a story that you tell someone maybe, or a book you would read. It makes sense. But to think about the scenarios and how the things how the cards were dealt, and then how the reaction to said scenario projected it forward or set it way back, or you end up pivoting away from direction then and end up somewhere bigger than you could ever imagine now. But individual success, I really love my life. Like, I love what I do. It's excruciatingly difficult some days. Don't think it's all rainbows and fairy tales and unicorns and mermaids. And it's just, I'm sitting around with my thumb up my ass all day drinking, margaritas. I love what I do because it means something to me, and it can be beneficial to a lot of people. And I think individual success is just figuring out what gives you fulfillment in life, the happiness in that pursuit, finding a reason why to even exist. Like, what is the purpose of life in itself? Finding happiness has nothing to do with material, it has nothing to do with stuff. It's about the pursuit and achieving something to get the stuff. If you were just handed all the shit, you're not going to enjoy it. If someone gave me a business today and said, here you go. Congratulations, you're a business owner now. Here's a $20 million business. I'm not going to feel anything about it. I'm going to have no attachment to it. It's about the pursuit. Doing it with a team is something that is required for most businesses, but makes it better because you're doing something as a group. And I don't think I think not having a community of people that are driving toward that same place, it creates a gap in like appreciation for life. Because whenever I can solve a problem, you can help me solve a problem. I can help you. We all can help each other intervene. Our industries could not be more different. And there's been scenarios that I've had in my business, you've had in your business, and you've had starting out yours that have helped me out. I just might not have told you about it. Your viewpoint on something in your industry might spark plug something for me to plug into mine with how you do what you do. Ultimately, I think for me, it's figuring out the path I want to go down, and then finding like-minded people that want to do something similar in their designing of life, and then investing all of it into that. I have three pillars of life. I have R&R Pipeline, Iron Infrastructure, and me, JE, as a person. Everything that I do is focused on one of them three pillars, and there's nothing else I do. And I think just identifying with clarity what you want out of life and going to getting it. It's harder, I think, to get clarity about why or what you want than it is actually go achieve it. But I think the clarity of direction is the hardest thing to actually do. But for you, Jeffrey, why do you run marathons? What's the thing that you enjoy that for?
Yeah, and it's a tough one to answer for running. I thoroughly enjoy being able to hone in on a specific goal and seeing progress towards that. And in a lot of ways, I like the goal to be controllable, to be within your control. So like growing up, I rode many different forms of, I got to try many different types of motorcycle racing. I rode more than my fair share of motocross. I got to do a little bit of road racing. My dad raced in the woods, so of course he had me in the woods as a kid. But I always came back to flat track, which is just dirt ovals on a motorcycle. And what attracted me to it was the general simplicity of the track, of the layout, so that I didn't feel like I was fighting the track. I felt like it was really trying to fine tune the exact bike setup, the exact riding style, the exact setup that created the best outcome that day. And I feel a similar feeling towards CNC machining, whereas, you know, we deal with very precise machines. It's not rocket science. We're changing numbers on a computer and it's producing the results. Like it's doing exactly what you tell it to do. And I like that and I appreciate that. And I have a similar feeling when it comes to running, where I then play with my diet, play with the training style, and try to do that in a sustainable way. And that excites me. There's also, it's easy to find a sense of community there with people who you otherwise wouldn't necessarily engage with. You know, as you were just talking about the community aspect of business and of life, it was in a podcast at some point I had heard that on self-reported happiness studies, which take that for whatever it's worth, but the profession that scored the best were people who played live music in a band. And if you think about it, it's not just you up there on the stage winning, it's you and the boys just getting it and on that journey together. So I think that that's very motivating to really engage with the team, but then also to engage with the community and going to local run clubs and going to the 5Ks and the marathons and the races. It's kind of a feeling of community engagement that you've all come together to run this marathon or run this 5K. And you might not have much else in common, but that's okay. It's good to come together as a community. I think that we outsource a lot of our sanity in what is normal and what is funny and what is realistic. And I think that that was a huge appeal to me of getting involved with the coaching program. And that in my day-to-day life, I wasn't engaging with other entrepreneurs. And, you know, it's just like in my day-to-day life, if I never engaged with another runner, I would feel a little crazy for wanting to just go run all the time. So as an entrepreneur, I wanted to engage with other entrepreneurs. And I don't think that I'm that unique in having the entrepreneur desires business. So I guess with that, I could spin back to a question of like, if you had to start over, no network, no contact list, no following on social media, if you had $1,000 in the bank account and nothing to lose, what would you do? Where would you direct your efforts? And I'll ask a similar deal for Kody of like, what from a zoomed out perspective, what looks sustainable, what feels sustainable, what feels realistic moving forward. But
Go ahead, Kody. Okay.
Either way.
So I think the first thing that I would do, and it's what I recommend to anyone in high school that doesn't have clear direction, I would take the money and I would invest it into learning something, and I would go make money for a year or two. And I would do it in a trade, because I know that school would be a struggle. If I'm 18 today and I'm graduating high school in 6 months, and at that graduation I get $1,000 in my name, I'm going to take and invest it into some type of program that I want to learn about. So I would invest in myself first, and then I would go make money. I would go to be an electrician and apprentice, or I would go into any type of blue collar workforce industry right now, because of where we're at in Ohio and the demand is so high. The money is so ridiculous. I mean, you can go out starting an order pipeline and make really good money, fresh with no experience right out of high school. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. And all you got to do is apply yourself like I did, and you can own the company one day if you want to. Like, that's a real reality. I would just find something to get grounded in society or in life, make good money, and then put myself out there for 2 years maybe, and then figure it out from there. I would not, though, try to go be the entrepreneur. Like, even if I knew what I am today, I wouldn't probably go down the same path, because it's not realistic to go down that path with today's setting the next 20 years. Times have changed now so much that I wouldn't take the same course I did to get where I'm at today. But I would just do, in foundational sense, like the core components of what I did, I would swallow my ego and be a sponge. I would learn from people that have already done it for a while. I would listen. I wouldn't talk a lot. I would shut up and just learn from ones that have done the hard work for a long time. And I would get really, really good at being really good. I'd be reliable. by showing up, doing what I said I was going to do, not overextending a promise or whatever. I would deliver on what I said I would do. I would be a good listener. I would have a personal development mindset. I would stick with that thing. I would learn how to become valuable in the world, but I wouldn't try to go capture the whole world by the balls in the first year or two. Because I know, looking at society today, everyone thinks that they can go be a YouTuber next year and make millions of dollars on YouTube. They think Mr. Beast is an accident, that he just has this like massive net worth because of making a couple of videos. They don't see 16 hours a day for 10, 15, 20 years from the time he's 12 to now, whatever it was. The amount of effort it takes to be great at anything is only known by the ones that have actually done it. And so I would just go focus on getting good at anything and finding out later what it is at the end, but not trying to determine all that up front. Go be valuable first in the marketplace. That's how I would approach it.
There's a few different ways, I guess, thinking about this one. I guess the first thing that comes to my mind would be to find somebody that you like, whatever that may be. And if they have a true system in place, and I would suggest to copy that system.
Absolutely.
But when I say copying that system, don't expect by copying that system to put you exactly in that position that person is that you're copying the system of. You know, from an acceleration standpoint, that might only advance you from a 4 to a 6, but don't expect it to, you know, copying that person's system and only, you know, doing a few things that they, you know, relay to you to take you to the finish line there. You know, that would be my biggest thing. And then another thing, like you said, would be there's so many people, you know, including myself, that you go out and you say you're a business owner, start the business, do this, that, and the other, business bank accounts, LLCs, this, that, invest into all that stuff. But I think the right approach would be to get your first client, you know, start. You don't have to own a business technically, name wise, to offer services to somebody, you know. Now, when it comes down to completing that transaction, you should probably have all of that in place.
Technically you should, but I know a lot of people that don't.
Right. You know, there's a lot of people that focus on that and then stop, you know, right there. And, you know, I can't be a hypocrite. I've been there before myself. So, you know, just, you know, invest in all the tools that you can and, you know, just keep pushing forward, putting your face in front of as many people as you want. And I guess another piece of advice is whatever you're passionate about, you know, say you're self-employed, but you don't have any clients, you should do whatever you can to put yourself in, to find a place where that environment is available, you know, whether that's a part-time job or whatever. So you're still learning, you know, and growing in that mindset of, you know, the passion you're actually, you know, reaching for.
I think passion is a very interesting word in itself, because I'm passionate about a lot of things that have no value in the marketplace, or used to be. You can have passion for something and never be valuable to someone else. Like watching Netflix series, being passionate about watching a show is not going to provide income. I think passion is a spark or an accelerator in a lot of areas whenever you figure it out. I think passion is downstream, though, becoming good at something that has value. Because I think what we all do isn't probably what we would do if it had no income attached to it. Fair statement, right? We're doing it because of the value that it can provide for us. We're passionate about it because we figured out a way to become good at it, or we were good at it with whatever sparked it. But you're not making money running, you're passionate about it. Now, could it lead to you making money? Maybe, but you're not doing that. So I think passion has a misconception of it being the start, when I think it's really a spark to some extent, and a help of getting there. I'm passionate about learning now. Well, I was basically a deadbeat high school kid that had I thought reading books was dumb when I was in high school. That's the biggest ignorant paradox you could ever imagine. I'm obsessed with educating myself today, and I used to laugh at people that did it. So to me, it's about learning what matters to provide the value in the world. I would say one other thing that I would have never thought of really then, because it didn't really exist, but my friend Ryan Henry, who used to be our EOS implementer, he is business partners with Gino Wickman and the E-Leap. It's the Entrepreneur Leap, and it's a course that recognizes if you are an entrepreneur or not. I think the biggest heartbreak and the biggest setback in life is thinking that you are something that you're not, and never figuring it out by a reality check, but by the struggle of your life being the thing that it's the nail in the coffin. If you get to the finish line and it was all for naught. If you're not, it's okay. Like, I think people want to have the trophy, but they don't want to do anything on that training ground. Acknowledgement that you are who you are, and that maybe you had this desire, but it's not a reality for you. There's nothing wrong with that. So I think just that's why I would say going in and investing in yourself. Figure out who the hell you are. Spend time dissecting that part, and then be okay with it, whatever it is.
Right, because that personal development's not just about learning things externally. That
No.
personal development can be about getting really good at looking at a mirror.
Most
And
of it is.
we all know the difference of trying to do something and struggling and like, damn, only 2 minutes has gone by. I can't wait for 5 o'clock to come around so I can go home. We all know the difference between that versus like, holy cow, I just sat down at 7 a.m. and it's already 5 p.m. Man, that was fun. Like we all know that difference. And I feel like so many of my friends and experiences, I've seen people say, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. And I guess there's two things to that I would say is, A, like move fast and break shit. Don't be afraid to try stuff. Don't be afraid to get out there and keep one eye on the mirror so that you can recognize like, oh wow, I had a lot of fun with that. And try to draw patterns for what you're having fun with and to see how you can piece that together to provide value to the market.
And what you're good at.
Right.
Some people have a natural instinct to do something really well. They don't realize it until they actually try it and apply it for a while.
For sure. And the other thing to that though is to just audit how you're spending your time. Like if you spend all day drinking beer, don't be surprised that you kind of feel like crap. If you spend all day consuming garbage content, like if you're watching Love Island because that's what your wife has on and like scrolling Instagram shorts all day, every day and eating junk food, don't be surprised when on a Saturday morning you wake up and you're really not that motivated to try to search for your passion. Like check your dopamine level. Monitor what you're doing that affects your dopamine levels. Monitor what you're paying attention to. Monitor who you're surrounding yourself with, the conversations you're having, and protect that. Like we live in an attention economy where there are billion-dollar companies all around us trying to hold on to our attention, and all of the time you give them is time that you're taking away from chasing your own goals.
And I think the other part of that, you cannot have a desire to go achieve something and not have the output in which you do daily match that desire. If you're not willing to put in the work, downgrade your desire in life and just say what it is. So many people say they want this thing and then don't actually do what's required to get it.
It's so easy to paint such a huge desire and say like, oh, I want to be that guy, be like that guy on Instagram. But as you said, it's
no, you don't.
Right.
Like you don't want to be that person because you're not willing to put in the work.
Right.
And so like you can have high desire, high things in life that you want to accomplish, but you better match it with what you do on a daily basis. To your point, you consume garbage. If you're watching Love Island eating Cheetos and drinking a 30-pack on Friday night, you're probably going to be sitting on Saturday morning, like emotionally crying and upset with your life and woe is me.
And that's not because of the Matrix. That's not because people are holding you down.
That's because you're a fat fuck watching Love Island.
Exactly.
Like, that's all what it is, right? I think this is the other part. We have to look in the mirror, not the window. If we look out the window for acceptance and fulfillment, look internally. Like, face your shit. We all have past. We all have demons. Thinking that you don't have anything that you need to overcome with trauma, it's delusional. Like, we have all had excruciatingly hard shit that we had to go through. Well, guess what? We're here and we survived. Check the box. We're good. We have to get through it. And we either become a victim because of our circumstance or achieve victory because of it. And I will die on this hill. There is no third option. You either do something great because of it or you become something of a victim because of the thing that happened to you. There is no other option. So don't whine and cry to me about what happened to you. I can have sympathy for you, but so what? So what? Is there racism in the world? Yes. Is there really, really evil, bad people? Yes. Do other people out there have it way worse than I did growing up? Yes. So what? We've all had scenarios in life that we've had to overcome. Each person's trauma is directly linked to what their experience was. So you can't compare two people's experiences in life. Even a sibling going through, like siblings going through the same thing don't have the same experience. There's a picture that I always reference whenever talking about this because it's not comfortable to talk about. It's not fun to talk about, but it's fucking true. And I think so many people hide behind this mask. There's a picture of a guy. He's an alcoholic, sitting on the side of the street, homeless, brown bag, drinking, looks like a bag of shit. Flies are all over him, like he's muddy and covered up. And there's a guy walking down the street in a suit and tie with a briefcase, walking down the street, just came from the Wall Street meeting, and he's handing the money. They're brothers with an alcoholic dad. It's your choice to figure it out in life. Nobody is stuck in their circumstances and can't do something different to get out. The brothers were, I think in that picture, they were twins, or like they were the same age. They had the same exact upbringing. They made completely different choices of that upbringing, though. everybody has that same thing. You either become a product of the environment or you design your life because of the environment. So you never have to experience it again. But it's all on us to do. And so what? Like whining and crying about our experiences in life when they're negative, that's not going to be the way I tell my story. I'm not going to be a product of that thing that happened to me. It's going to be a reason that I can share a different experience, and it happened for me to learn, win or learn, never lose. And I think society has gotten so soft and weak that it's allowed incompetence to become mainstream. It's allowed laziness to be desired. You love your body, like 300-pound Victoria's Secret model. No, you're fat. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. That's not desirable by anybody. Promoting like laziness and incompetence and bad health is not something I could ever get behind. 400-pound Regina up on stage is not something I want to see. If someone else does, good for you. I'm not going to watch it. But it's promoting horrible health habits, hygiene. Like, I can't get behind that. I'm going to call that what it is, and I don't care whose opinion has any, like, what anybody has to say about it. But the society that we live in today is entertainment society. It's instant gratification. And I think the instant gratification that people were seeking out has diluted the work that needs to be put in to have actual gratification for life. Quit searching for meaning and know that today has meaning. So many people were searching for something that they already have. They just can't internalize it. Like you started out, look in the mirror, man. Like look in the mirror and realize how great life is, how short it can be, because back to the time is a currency that we can't see. We have no remaining balance on it. We don't fucking know. This might be the last time I ever do a podcast. I don't know. So make it the best fucking one you can and quit worrying about what people think. The perception of other people is so ignorant. You don't even like that person that's giving you criticism and you're going to worry about their opinion. Why? Freedom to me is about cognitive choice, cognitive freedom, cognitive discernment. I don't register most people's opinions. They don't even come in one ear out the other. I don't let them come in at all. I don't know if it's selective hearing or I'm just getting old, but I don't allow it to come in and like download and take free space. So many people do though. They hear something and it's the Bible to them. I think that part of the garbage in, like we consume what's in front of us. Get in front of a different fucking TV screen if you're watching Love Island, because it's not going to do you any good. I think it's very important to realize that though at a young age. So back to your earlier example about, the starting out today fresh. Think about what you're surrounding yourself by, with people, with media, with whatever it is. What is the consumption that you're taking in? And what is the outcome of receiving that? What are you going to become a product of if you keep that downloaded in your head all the time? It's real easy to look at. You eat shit, look like shit, feel like shit. Consume shit, become shit. Like it's not a NASA experiment here. But it's really difficult for a lot of people to do. And that probably includes the three of us sometimes. So circling back to you guys, what's been the biggest realization that you may have had since we've been working together? What's the one thing that you just did not think would ever be a truth? The one thing that maybe like paradigm shattering moment, eye-opening moment, but something that changed maybe the thought process that you've been having for a long time, a traditional thought, maybe that exposed truth. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, I would say, I could easily relate this back to the last topic you guys were just on about the man in the mirror. For example, I've took significant changes and dropped, vices of many sorts over the past years, I should say. And, every time I look at the man in the mirror, and like I wake up, I feel like shit. And then one day you're back in the mirror, like, man, you're searching for more energy, whatever it may be, and then you realize that you're still kind of a piece of shit, or so you cut another vice out, and you slowly become a better person, or that man in the mirror becomes a better person. And I've been able to thankfully notice that along the way as I've made significant changes. And I think that just the man in the mirror overall has been the biggest change for me, even outside of business. So
I think the other part that you probably learned but didn't mention it is you can't know you the way that you do and then compare yourself to somebody else and expecting it to be a one-to-one. Like looking at me and saying, oh, he doesn't do this, this, and this. Well, you don't know what I do.
Right.
You don't know behind closed doors. And that's why I think our competition's always ourselves.
That makes sense.
The man in the mirror is about focusing on that man in the mirror first and foremost, and not looking out the window to external circumstances of why you're internally doing something you shouldn't. It's the lack of validation for the bad excuse that you're giving yourself, or the bad crutch that you have, or avoiding what's controlling you.
Right.
Or like the man in the mirror is also about just competing with yourself every day. You're competing against a ghost, but you see that person when you show up in front of that mirror. And when you're looking for the validation or the external thing, sometimes you get it and you don't want it. You ever had someone give you an attaboy and you're like, respect your opinion? What? Like, that doesn't make me feel better. Or you get it after wanting it for so long, and then you're like, oh my God, that doesn't feel good. I wanted validation from this person for so long, and now I got it, and now I want to throw up because it didn't actually mean nothing. So if you can live with yourself, be a friend to yourself, be the person that you know you need to be, and be able to look in that mirror and say, you know what, knuckles to yourself today. You did fucking good. You handled that appropriately. You did the right thing today. That's the hardest thing. Are you a friend to yourself? If you had a friend that talked to you the way you talk to yourself, would you punch them or shake their hand? I think we miss that a lot. What about you, Jeffrey? What are you thinking?
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually been on my mind a fair amount here recently, thinking about how agreeable our culture is, especially face to face. And it doesn't have to be conflict to be disagreeable. Like, you can just ask questions. But how many times have we seen friends or family in a relationship, and then the relationship fails, and they're like, oh, how could I have ever seen this coming? And everyone's around them's like, dude, we all saw this breakup coming. Like, everyone knew this relationship was.
What show were you watching? Because this is an obvious ending. Yeah.
Right. But like, the culture we live in, it's like, even when that's obvious, the hell do you say? And like, it's difficult to manifest. And I think that there are a lot of people who are quite unable to have those tough conversations. But I also think that there's a lot of people who would love it if people would just start asking them questions like, hey man, is this really the girl? Like, based on XYZ that I see, like, can you see yourself having kids with this person? And it's that culture that I've felt in the coaching program that I realize how absent it is from the rest of society. And that, like, the questions don't have to be that thought through. Like, you can just, when someone says something, to be able to say something and to have a friend that doesn't just say, oh, congrats, cool, good job, but instead says, oh yeah, have you thought about it this way? Or what about this? How about this? And again, these don't have to be rocket science level questions, but to just be in a position where you conversate about a situation with someone who can ask questions and someone who has been around the sun a couple more times, that I see that is very helpful. And I see that as something that's very much so missing from society. And I mean, I recently told Kody, like, I do not want to surround myself in yes men. I am totally open. It doesn't even have to be constructive criticism. It can just be criticism. Like, just,
you don't have to like me. If you hate me, like me, love me. Like, you can throw like rocks at me. That's okay. Let's try to get better though.
Yeah. And I remember consuming personal development content in the past that talked about and focused on, frequently mentioned, oh, you're going to have people trying to tear you down. You're going to have people telling you can't make it. Until you make it, then they'll all want to be your friend. And in a lot of ways, that hasn't been my experience. My experience is that no one cares. No one even wants to talk about it. Like, no one cares. And to be in conversations where, I don't need you to get a tear in your eye. Just ask me a question. That'd be cool. So I guess that's what I've found and appreciate. And as I've seen it, I've recognized how much that's missing from society.
People don't give a fuck about anybody else. And most people don't care about themselves. But to your point, when you get in a community of like-minded, growth-minded people, they care enough to give you constructive criticism or criticism. Or like, why did you do that? That was really stupid. I would never do that again. And they might be wrong saying that. Nonetheless, they care enough to say something. I think society is at a point now where they don't even care enough to give criticism back. They'd rather agree and walk away and be done with it than actually say something that matters. But in a community of people that are focused on something to get better, you're going to get feedback. You might not want it. If someone says something really dumb to you, you know what you say? Thank you, I appreciate it. End of conversation. Thank them for it. They might be really, really stupid in that statement. It might be really stupid, though, on your behalf that you didn't understand what they were saying. Maybe they were saying X and you were downloading Y. Maybe one day you're going to be like, oh shit, this person said that and this is what they meant. If they have good intentions with it, it might be stupid either way. Take it for what it's worth, but don't beat them up for it. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'll take that into consideration. Like, we were talking about how to win friends and influence people earlier. It's like, winning an argument is the worst victory you can probably ever achieve. Let someone feel good about what they did so they do it again, because one day it might save your life. It might be the plug that you need to get out of that situation. What are you trying to win when it's just a small battle on a daily thing? Like, no one's going to also be a feedback loop if you always shit on them when they do. oh, that ain't the truth. That ain't ever gonna work. We all know that person. Be open to listening and receiving what people say. If someone agrees with you all the time, you're never going to get fucking better. You're going to quit. You're just going to be so ego driven that you think you're never wrong, and then you're never going to achieve anything or do anything, because your feedback loop is not a loop. It's just a fucking dot, and it's just you. Like, I appreciate being shown that I was wrong. I actually seek it out. Show me that I'm wrong. Show me a better way. I love that happening, because it means that whatever my traditional thought was is now not only not true, but it's changed, and it means something of value. I love being shown that I was wrong, dude. It's like the most humble appreciation that I can honestly have in certain scenarios, especially whenever I'm helping out someone else and then they help me and they don't even know it in that moment, and I can go thank them for it later. That's also the other part of the coaching group. It's like, I'm the coach, but you guys are also teachers in your own regard and don't know it yet, because your view and what you say and the feedback and the things that you overcome help not me, but not just me, but everybody, including you and everyone else in the group. We are students forever. We are teachers at certain times, though. And we're teachers when we share that experience in a good way. And we're teachers whenever we also ask the questions that others don't. Teachers will put their hand up almost all the time and ask a question, because they're in a place where they know they can. They've validated themselves enough or been validated enough to ask a question. A lot of students never raise their hand. Sometimes the thing that's most valuable is actually being questioned on what you said as a truth. Like, are you sure about that? Can you rephrase that in another way? I don't understand. Sometimes it's just you're not questioning whether they're actually competent enough to say what they did. You're curious. Lead with curiosity and watch how that opens up dialogue. A lot of time, though, like, if you know something inherently is not truth that someone is saying is the truth, I don't understand. Please teach me your way. Like, be curious enough to ask a question to get that explanation out there. And I think people don't want to be proven wrong in a moment, but people will be willing to accept that they were wrong if it's approached the right way. I think most of business is about personal development. Being an entrepreneur is about personal development. Do you know who you are? Do you know what you're good at? Do you know what you're bad at? And do you know how to analyze other people and what makes them tick? I've studied more psychology in the last few years than probably anything else, with development of myself and learning about other people and natural wiring and how people consume information, what actually makes them shut down or shut up or go to the next level. Being a yes man, though, is a recipe for disaster, because you're never going to grow out of that hole you're in. And I could not agree more to the appreciation for that. If you don't have a community of people, dude, life will spit you out after they chew you up quickly, because you're going to live in this tunnel that you don't get out of. I don't know if you guys feel this way on Tuesday nights. I know whenever I go into a strategic coach or Dan Martell's coaching, I'm able to be different on that call. I'm able to think different, view the world. My focus is different. And I know I have to go in that way, because I'm not focused on what I was just focused on throughout the day, because my seat's different in that moment with how I think, because that's the design of it. It's supposed to be different. When I walk into strategic coach for the first 2 years, dude, it was quiet, reserved, me going in, being a fit inside of the 90% of people there that are not very outspoken, 10% that are. I walk in there now, I'm like, what's up, people? How's everyone doing? I'm slapping hands. I'm able to be like outspoken, different version of Jake than I am on a daily basis, because they get it, because they're the same mentality that I am. I belong there. I didn't know that then at the beginning, but I know that now. But you can cognitively transition to the best version of yourself. Staying in that lane is hard, though, if you're not in that environment. Your environment dictates your evolution, and I really believe that. So when you're looking for advice or feedback loops or whatever it is, be very cautious on who you're getting it from. To your point, you didn't get there. I don't know if you're going there or not, but how important is it for who you interact with? So, like, back to you, Jeffrey, what have you changed the people that you interact with, or the people you put around you, or the opinions that you might ask for now in comparison to old?
Yeah, that's something that I feel like I've been aware of for quite a while in that kind of way. I remember there were a couple times in my young adult life, now that I'm an old man, I can say that, but I remember being around some really high performing people and just feeling the energy in the air. Like, it's
contagious.
It's contagious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, it makes you just want to drop down and do push-ups, and then like it's contagious, and I recognized that. And there are other people who you spend time around that just make you want to lay on the couch. And as I've always tried to take a results biased approach to life where results matter. And if I can spend time around people who get me excited and motivated, then I need to do that more frequently because that's what I want out of life. And I remember the end of last year, I went with a friend to one of the Chris Williamson live shows, and we did the Q&A, and we got to sit about this far away from Chris as he was answering. There's a group of like 25 people and he was answering questions. And we got done with that. My friend said, dude, that guy radiates intensity. Like there's just an aura there that's difficult to articulate. And I said, I agree. I have felt that way about every really high performing person I've ever been around. And
it's an energy that it's not something that can be faked.
Right. If you want to be a fast runner, find a way to hang out with fast runners. If you want to be a high performer, find a way to hang out with high performers.
And you realize too, when things are talked about or mentioned, it's not, I talk about certain things that may come off like wrong or be off-putting because it's a larger sum of money or something that's not standard to talk about. And it's not, I remember having a conversation before and the conversation was about car payments and fuel costs. And I was asked something about a car payment and I didn't understand the audience at that time. And I could not answer the question as a direct answer to that question. $100,000 car, I don't have a payment for. That adds zeros to what it is of asset value as a company. Like I wasn't on the same understanding level at that moment. What's the fuel price do to you? Oh, it's about 40 grand a month at extra cost. $4 a gallon? Yeah, 40 grand a month extra. We're talking about two different things. I'm not being ignorant when I'm saying that. It's just my reality is different. And I think so many people misunderstand that part. I'm not sharing this to be boastful. I'm sharing it because it's truth. It's the experience where I'm at. Understanding that part, though, may be kind of hard. And I was really curious about the Chris Williamson thing. When he would answer or share something, was it relatable every time, or was it something where it's kind of hard to understand to some extent? Would have been harder to understand 5 or 6 years ago had you not been putting in the work? Because I think that's where the misconception comes. Content creation in itself is a book written to help other people. That's what most of it's for. Most people have good intentions when they start doing something of content, not just chasing money. Most people that chase money may make some, but they're not going to be in it forever. It's to help give back. And then it's shit on so awkward. Like, oh, you're just trying to brag about yourself and do this or do that. But my success or my story or my whatever might be someone's survival guide along the way that can help them out. And it has been. I'm not being ignorant or ego driven to say that. It's just reality. But I'm wondering with like Chris, when you were there, was there people that were like beating him up or talking shit, or was the audience, I'm assuming it was a VIP, so it probably was an audience that appreciated enough and understood it because they invested in it. But in general, was it like that? What was the feedback the other?
Yeah, I would say the relatable aspect with Chris wasn't necessarily how many zeros there were on the price tags. It was more like whether or not you know what it's like to be in the grind. Like, I know there are a lot of people who work a 9 to 5 and they love their life. They coach their kids' baseball team and they watch movies in the evenings with their wife and they drive a reasonable car and they love their life. And to that respect, like total respect. And those people wouldn't be able to relate with Chris when he's talking about what it's like. Like, yeah, I love the journey I'm on, but it's also a grind. There are a lot of mental battles there that are relatable when you can relate to what it's like to lock into a grind and just work and love it and want more all at the same time. You know, if you make a comment about $40,000 fuel price, and if someone's reaction to that is, oh yeah, your life's so tough, like must be nice. If that's their reaction, then they wouldn't appreciate Chris's show. If they're like, if they can understand and relate with the reality that even though some people's problems have more zeros on the end of the price tag, it's still like a challenge.
Yeah.
If you can relate with that, you can relate with Chris's show.
More than likely, the bigger the dollar amount, the harder the challenge actually is, and the more that you've actually faced to get to that point. Talking about a dollar amount or anything is, in the setting matters, yes, but a lot of time, I'm never talking about anything to show what I have or what I've done from that aspect. It's an example of, it's It's an actual like physical or tangible example of a dollar amount to tie into the question. It's just an answer of it directly to what's relatable for me, but it's never about a revenue. Like, look what I got. No, that doesn't matter, because at the end of it, problems are problems. No matter the level of success, you have the same inherent problems that the society around us does. We don't escape problems by wealth. Money does not take away the issues that comes with it. It just makes them bigger or different. Like, achieving any financial success in life, if you think it's going to come and then it's going to make your life so much easier, you're delusional. It can take away the burden you have today. Down the road, it might go away. Your focus might not be survival with money. Financial like hardship might not be your issue. It still comes with big issues though, and big problems and puzzles to figure out. But I think the reality is we all have these things that we go through, and we never have an easy life. And if we do, that's when we lose our character.
If it was easy, it'd be boring.
If it was easy, we wouldn't fucking do it, because it wouldn't be meaningful, right? The happiness in the pursuit is the challenge that we face and overcome, and then the victory that we can try to achieve at the end. And we're going to fail more than we're going to not fail, probably. We're going to lose probably more than we win, but we're going to win if we keep going, because that's the design that we want. Expecting not to lose means that you're going to end up losing the ultimate game because you're never going to try. I think that's also the next part of what people misconstrue to success. They see the wins, they don't see the losses. Michael Jordan won 6 in a row. How many years did he play in the league, though? He lost more years than he won championships. He missed 9,000 shots, I think, in his lifetime. He lost more of the game-winning shots than he missed more than what he made. He didn't fucking shoot, though. That's why he is the greatest of all time. Expecting it to be easy, though, makes it hard. And expecting to always win is going to make you ultimately lose the worst thing, not trying. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back for round 2 of this. I got to piss. And as much as I'll say that out loud if I want to.
I'm glad you said it, because I also have.
I figured I wasn't the only one.